We have talked a lot over the last day or so of the incident at Manchester Airport. Let's now speak to the lawyer for the man who was kicked in the head and stamped on by a police officer at the airport. Akhmed Yakoob is with us. Mr. Yakoob, good morning to you.
Good morning.
A human question to start with. How is your client?
He's doing better than he was. He is to be seen by a neurologist later on today. So I do keep him in your prayers.
OK. Tell us what happened here, because there's a couple of videos circulating on social media. There's obviously the main video that everybody has talked about of the incident where the officer kicks your client in the head and then the foot goes to the top of the head. What was the build-up to this? What actually happened?
What happened was a blatant abuse of police powers. Let's, for a second, take the uniforms off the police officers and think of them as normal civilians. And let's take this somewhere else on the street and not in an airport where 5 thugs come in with weapons and then continue to assault a individual, and they carry on the assault whilst that individual is defenseless and not providing any sort of resistance.
Just to chip in on that point, Mr. Yakoob, if I could, there was clearly something happened before it got to that. We've seen some of the video evidence that looks like a very confrontational moment of some men not adhering to what the police are asking them to do. What was going? Why did the police originally stop these people?
The clips that you are referring to right now that came onto the video, that was some passersby, some innocent bystanders who were being threatened with tasers and a pepper spray for videoing the horrific crimes committed by the police.
But there must have been an incident. The police didn't just turn up and suddenly, jump on somebody's head. There must have been an incident that came beforehand.
They turned up. It was for an allegation of assault, but when they came in to the airport, to everyone's surprise, they came in brandishing the tasers. So it was like they were prepared to do this.
Well, it's an airport, right? I mean, heightened security and everything.
I mean, but there was no firearms-related reports, and there was no threats of anybody having weapons.
So out of nowhere and for no reason. I mean, there was obviously an incident that preceded the pictures we are now seeing. The police were responding to something, and the men we see in the video are clearly not being helpful to the police.
Are you talking about the men? Are you talking about the man who's on the floor right now?
Well, the man on the floor is your client, right?
Yeah, and the man behind him.
Okay.
Are you saying he's not being helpful by sitting on the bench?
Well, what happened with those guys then? Because we do seem to have seen various videos, and whether it's these, you can clear this up for us, whether it's these same men or whether it's other men, but there seems to be a confrontation that takes place before this happens.
I mean, the videos that have been circulating, you've seen them, I've seen them. I've not seen anything confrontational from those two men.
Okay.
I mean, if there is something, then I would like to see.
All right, no, that's fine. That's why I wanted to clear that up, whether these were the same people or different people. So were the different people part of that group? Were they?
In total. So there's 3 people from Rochdale who went to receive their mother. So the 2 boys, one of them was sitting in the back on the bench with his hands behind his head, who got tasered afterwards. One of them who's on the floor and is not resisting at all, who got hit with the steel toe cap boots. And if that was a civilian, of course, they probably would have been charged for attempted murder for doing that. But that's a different story. So 2 of them. And then the mother was definitely not being confrontational. She has also been the victim of an assault as well.
Okay. There was clearly something had happened there that threw up momentarily a very chaotic situation that the police were responding to. That, I would imagine, and we will have an investigation, of course, but I would imagine the police would say everything was out of hand. There was a lot of shouting. There was a lot of resistance. Whoever it came from, whether it's your clients or not, it was a situation that had to be dealt with, and in the heat of the moment, that's what happened.
I mean, in the heat of the moment, are you going to give someone brain damage? Are you going to do barbaric acts like that? Imagine.
And I'm certainly not defending that. And
I know you're not defending.
But I wonder whether the police view on this will be that it looks, if you just look at one shot, then that's what you see, and it doesn't look good at all. I completely agree with you. But of course, the police would say it was a volatile situation. The terrain was not a good place to be.
Yeah, of course it wasn't, and I want to see other videos. I want to hear their side of the story, but all we have heard so far is that a officer has been suspended. But like I keep referring, because I'm a lawyer, I see this on a daily basis. If you take away the uniforms and these gentlemen and women were civilians, they would be arrested, they would be remanded.
But of course, you can't take away the uniform, can you? So you're saying your client was completely 100% compliant throughout the entire process from start to finish?
This is not about being compliant from start to finish. What I am trying to get at is at that moment in time, when the police have turned up, they were not resisting at all.
All right. But I think to establish the circumstances, many people understandably will want to know that your client, I think you're representing two people here.
Three.
So three men you're representing. People would want to...
the two boys and the mother.
Okay. So So two boys and the mother, who we saw crouching beside her son. I assume that was the mother in that video that we saw. So up to that point, they had been 100% compliant with everything that was asked of them by the police.
I mean, it's early stages, isn't it? We need to do our investigations, and we need to get to the bottom of everything, what happened. But the point I'm making is the evidence that has been presented so far is that they were compliant, and they've been a victim of a terrible assault.
Out of nowhere.
I mean, they went to pick up their mother.
Yeah. And some police just decided to beat them up.
Let me give you another fact. Their older brother and the woman's third child is a saving police officer.
So I understand. With GMP, right?
And he tells me, yes, GMP, and he tells me he can't go into work. And I asked him why. He said he's afraid that they might kill him.
So he thinks if he goes into work, he will be killed?
Yes, he's afraid for his life if he goes into work.
Who's going to kill him? I mean, that's, with respect to him, that's a preposterous analysis, isn't it? He thinks he's going to be killed?
Yes, I mean, the brother was threatened to be killed by the police officer at the airport. The brother instructs me that he stood up in his cell all night because he took that threat seriously, of course, after being assaulted so badly.
He was going to be killed. I mean, where does he think he is, for goodness sake? It's Manchester, for goodness sake.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. So this is the public perception right now. This is coming from the public. These are not my words.
Let me ask you this. We understand the police officers were assaulted in this fracas as well. So did your client break the nose of a police officer?
I haven't seen no evidence, and no evidence has been produced of the officers being attacked. Once that evidence is before us, then we can
Okay.
respond to
So
that.
when they were arrested and taken to the police station, were they questioned over assaulting police officers?
They were questioned over assaulting an emergency worker,
Okay.
but no video evidence was produced.
So they haven't been charged with anything in that respect?
No, they haven't been charged with no
Okay.
criminal offence.
All right. What do you, I mean, you talked a moment ago about an investigation. In the meantime, many people have decided to protest. Those protests have sort of got a bit bigger, and they've also got quite varied with other protest groups joining in. Do you condone those protests?
If they are peaceful protests, then they are okay. I don't condone any sort of violence. And I made a video yesterday. I don't know the exact facts of what happened, but I had reports that there may be some sort of aggression at a protest. So I made a video asking everyone to remain peaceful because we're after justice.
I mean, we don't need a protest, do we? We've got an investigation going on. The Prime Minister has talked about it. Andy Burnham is talking about it. This is clear. This is happening in broad daylight. No one's going to be hiding reality here, and things are caught on video. We don't need anybody to protest on this.
That's the good thing. Although the people who did capture this on video were threatened by police officers with tasers and threatened that their phones would be taken off them for videoing these crimes by the police officers. They stood their ground, so they must be congratulated, the people who actually caught this on camera.
But, I mean, it's in an airport. It would have all been caught on camera. You can't move around an airport without cameras being everywhere, right? So the police weren't trying to hide anything. They knew they would be filmed.
There have been incidents in the past. There have been incidents in the past where we haven't been able to get hold of CCTV. So I have to commend those brave men and women who were threatened with tasers for simply recording the crimes that the police were committing at the time.
Would you ask the protesters...
They didn't want the world to see those crimes that they were committing.
All right. Would you ask the protesters to stand down now that we know there is an investigation?
The protesters... the thing is this, there is an investigation. Yeah. We know. I know there's an investigation. There's a suspension that has taken place of one police officer, but I have to keep going back to my normal point. If these were 5 or 6 civilians who assaulted someone with a metal pole and hit them with on their head...
But that's not an equivalence, is it? That's no example at all.
Steel toe caps, steel toe cap boots. It's a part of the uniform for armed police officers, steel toe cap boots, and they can generate more force. A kick scientifically can generate more force than the arm. And that's scientific. I'm not making that up.
Do you respect the police yourself, Mr. Yakoob?
For one second, are you saying that guy's life, who was on the floor, not resisting at all, wasn't in danger with that kick?
I would condemn anyone that has kicked somebody in the head unless we discover there are circumstances that we're not aware of.
Are you suggesting that that boy's life wasn't in danger when he was...
I have, to quote your own words on these things, I have no idea until... I mean, I heard you said he had a cyst on the brain. Whether this was caused by this, I guess the speculation is that it is.
I'm talking about naturally, if you see the video,
That's horrific.
If you see the video...
Yeah, it's horrific to watch in isolation, but nobody, I don't know anybody that's disputed that.
I've seen people die with less force, you see. I mean, look, if you were a first-time visitor to the UK and you see this...
Well, I mean, you could argue that about all manner of fracas that take place. There's a lot of things that don't look good, and nobody is in any way defending that if it is simply a case that an innocent man, where there was no backstory, no build-up, but suddenly out of nowhere, a bunch of cops descended and kicked a man in the head, then that police officer should go to jail. I think we would all agree with that.
Thank you very much. I agree
if that is the case. Let me come back to your own view on the police. Do you respect the police, Mr. Yakoob?
I highly, highly respect the police. I am for policing. I've never been against the police. And I always say that everyone should act in the remits of the law.
Aren't you quite anti-police, though? I mean, it's been alleged that you have courted controversy by teaching people how to frustrate the police during interviews, bragging about getting reduced sentences for drug dealers. Is that true?
It's quite ridiculous that you are bringing up irrelevant.
Well, I'm wondering about. I'm wondering if you are
now.
Yeah, I'm bringing it up because your own background. You're quite political. You're quite. There's been suggestions you're anti-police, and if that is the case, I'm wondering whether you're the right person to be representing somebody.
I'm not anti-police. Right now, a man has been assaulted by the police who behaved in a thuggish manner. And you are asking me irrelevant questions?
I'm asking in order to get to... It's not irrelevant because I want to know your backstory in order to understand where you're coming from.
Why do you need to know my backstory? What's your backstory?
Because well, I'm not the person at the centre of this. I'm just asking some questions here that lots of people are thinking. And of course, you stood as an independent candidate at the election. You're close links with the George Galloway's Workers' Party. You have alleged to have courted controversy by teaching people how to frustrate the police. I think to establish those points is reasonable to know where you're coming from. And it's, we're not North Korea. It's fine if that's your position.
No, I'm coming from a point of justice.
Okay.
And people need to realize I'm doing this on a pro bono basis. I'm not getting paid for this. I'm doing this simply for justice. I'm doing this for justice for the
It's just about the justice, not an anti-police thing. Is your client, are you, along with your client, considering suing the police, Mr. Yakoob?
No, we haven't considered that. Right now, our main focus is the well-being of the clients and justice to be served. Justice in terms of the IOPC, the Independent Office of Police Conduct. I've got a meeting with them today at 10:30, the regional chair. So they've moved pretty swiftly. They moved very swiftly, and I am impressed by the speed that they are responding.
And do you have a meeting lined up with the police? Are you likely to meet with them to find out more about where this goes?
Well, today's meeting is with the IOPC, and some family members have arranged a certain meeting, but they don't have the confidence in the police. You see, but they did, because of course like I said, one of their brothers is a saving police officer. So before this incident, they were very proud. They were very proud of their son being a police officer.
What does justice look like to you?
Justice looks like the individuals that were involved, the police officers, the police ladies, who acted in such a barbaric, thuggish manner, to be in court, in a criminal court, being prosecuted for their crimes, to set an example, because we don't want to have an incident like this again. We don't want a George Floyd incident in the United Kingdom.
We will watch with interest. Mr. Yakoob, thank you for your time. Akhmed Yakoob, who's the lawyer for the man who was kicked in the head. You've seen the video. You've heard his response. Over to you on this one.